Hello, everyone. This is Tony Lawson, CEO and co-founder of Shoppe Black. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Ras Peynado, owner of Seattle-based Herban Farms. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Tony.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So let's get right into it. So, Urban Farms. How long have you been a farmer, and like, what inspired you to create the business?
Well, I've been an urban farmer. I've been growing since about 2010, but I started the business in 2012.
Mm,
Um, it was a combination of things that influenced me, like a combination of like my background, my parents' story, along with just like the path that life had taken me. And I kind of like stumbled into the medical marijuana industry early on, and develop my own passion for growing and understanding plants, and more so than that, taking being able to take something from a plant and turn it into something else. So in those cases, we were doing medicinal products. So I was doing a high honey where we were infusing honey with cannabis,
mm,
and then taking that in combination with my parents' story. My father was a farmer in Jamaica. My mother was a craftsperson at the Pike Place Market. She did tie-dye t-shirts, silk screening. And when they met, their dream was to move to Seattle. Or my mom lived in Seattle, but my dad lived in Jamaica. They wanted to move my father up here to Seattle. They wanted to get a little farm. They wanted to do the farmers market thing and basically do like a simpler version of what I'm doing, more traditional version,
mm.
but I hyped it up with the products and kind of making things more value added. And that's where the experience from the cannabis industry kind of like influenced that.
Mm. Okay. So, what do you feel is I guess the importance of learning how to grow, whether it's fruits, vegetables, or maybe even just, plants in general.
Man, it's key to survival
Yeah.
in every aspect. You know, currently with what we're going through is really evident how you could apply that and how you could benefit from being able to grow your own food.
Mm,
But the spiritual connection that you have, I mean, you got to think like we're all used to technology, we're used to modern life, but as humans, that's not where we come from,
right.
and getting in touch with the earth, no matter who you are, it's going to reconnect you with some part of yourself that maybe you were having trouble reaching. And at least in my experience with myself and others that I've worked with, that's been the case.
Mm, that's interesting. And we mentioned technology. Are there some ways that you see, or what ways do you see technology actually enhancing what you're doing, or adding value to what you do as a farmer? And what techniques are you currently implementing? Whether it's stuff that's helping you out in the field, or stuff that's helping you, you know, as a business owner.
Man, how much time do we have? Technology is like it's perfect. It's amazing. It's a great complement to something so natural like farming when you use it correctly. I mean, I started my business at the farmers market, so hand to hand, face to face. But during the pandemic, I've had to solely rely on the internet. So just being able to get your product out there, if you have a product or your mission, like I've been able to learn about so many other farms, farmers, nonprofit groups, like one of my favorite, Farm Up Jamaica, and just learn about different causes and what people are doing. Um, as far as technology in the field, I mean, I use YouTube all the time between books and YouTube. That's
Right.
how I learn, so that is constant. And having one of these today, that's with you everywhere you go. So it's something you can always utilize to further knowledge. But they have apps specifically to do like crop tracking, to do yield prediction, to identify bugs and pests and unknown crops and things like that. So I mean, it's forever evolving, and it's only benefiting as far as what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, from the personal or the business aspect.
I've read a few articles about the new school of like Black farmers. Do you feel like there's like a renewed or more interest in using, you know, the tools, technological tools like you just mentioned, amongst newer farmers, or do you feel like you know, like the OGs that have been at this for a while, they're kind of gravitating towards that as well, or do you feel like they need to, like they're not and they need to?
Well, with my limited personal experience, I would say like OGs, like at the farmers markets that I've been to, don't necessarily always utilize technology, i.e., like websites or social media or services that can help spread their product out.
Sure.
Like at our farmers market, we have a group of Hmong farmers, refugee farmers, and they're well established out here, and they're a good example of how like the older generation is kind of like we go to the farmers market, we sell these flowers, but the newer generation has started doing like subscription boxes, Instagram sales, website sales, and they've really seen that come full circle.
Mm.
But can you come back to the original question again? I kind of got lost for a minute.
No, no, that was actually a good answer. It was basically about
Okay.
the importance of using technology, how technology is being used in the farming industry now with like the new era of farmers and, you
Right,
know,
right, right.
the
I
older.
don't see too much resistance as far as that. Like I said, I think it's just something that's been catching up
Okay,
with the older generation, but I don't see people resistant to it.
sure.
And I see uh, a lot more younger farmers looking for that mentorship in
Mm.
the older generation farmers. So there's really that, that back and forth
Yeah,
relationship there. From
definitely.
what I see. Yeah.
I think that's great. I think a great idea is the younger farmers and the older farmers is coming together and sharing knowledge. You know, like they obviously have experience, years and years and years in the game. You know, the younger farmers also had like their skill sets that they're bringing, their points of view and whatnot. And yeah, I think it's always a good marriage of skills and experience in situations like that. Um, yeah. So how did you decide on what specifically to grow? Because I know you do peppers and spices. Do you do any additional products for that? Because I know your honey infused hot sauce is fire. I put that stuff on everything, as they say.
Yeah.
Thanks for sending that out. There we go. There we go.
Light plug.
Yep.
Um, Man. All right, I apologize. Say the question one more
Oh,
time.
I'm just asking how you decided to grow.
Yeah.
How you decided
Oh,
to
how? Okay,
grow.
there you go. Yeah. I don't know. It really started off with circumstances.
Mm,
Um, just having a limited space, growing what I could, kind of like develop perpetual cycles with the
sure.
harvest because I'm using small space.
Yeah.
And peppers was like a natural transition from cannabis interest because it's basically the same plant in a lot of ways, and how it grows is very similar. I would call them cousins. They have the same kind of life cycle.
Okay.
Um, so it was an easy transition from one passion to the other. And
Sure.
then the herbs came in naturally, like I said, because using the space that I had in the city, it was really easy to put a whole bunch of culinary herbs that I'm harvesting off of a couple times a year, and I'm able to put in pots, I'm able to put in the ground. And from there, it was just like a really easy way to like experiment. And that's kind of like what what I call like the flagship location of
Mhm.
where I'm at is all about, where my farm kitchen is and everything. Is more about the experimental process of being able to grow a little bit of a lot of different things. Over the years, I've narrowed it down a lot because I've had to focus more on scalability and
Sure.
making money,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
can't go off in 1,000 directions.
Right.
Um, Starting off with interest, what you're interested in,
Mm,
growing something there, and
mhm.
then kind of seeing what works, matching interests with time and profit management. So
Sure. 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 So speaking of profit, I know that in the past few months there's been a wave of interest in Black-owned businesses due to the sparked by the murder of George Floyd. What has your experience been since, I guess, since then, in terms of like whether it's been sales or followers online or just general interest in your business and your products?
Overwhelming support, a lot of support. It's been nothing but love. I can't say, I mean, I always feel like I've had a lot of love from my customers and from our followers and whatnot. But I'd say since COVID with the small business drop and since the George Floyd tragedy, yeah, people have definitely went out of their way to make sure they let me know, hey, I'm supporting you because this is a Black business. I'm supporting you because it's a small business. I appreciate what you do, et cetera, et cetera. Whether it's through like leaving a note when they make a sale, when they make purchases on the website, or DMs or comments or whatever. It's just been a lot of love. It's been overwhelming, to be honest. And it's sad that it had to cut like that. So much more has come from that.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to start off by saying that like the people who have been following me in general always just show a lot of love. But right now they're letting me know specifically like, hey, we're standing behind you. You know, we want to see you succeed.
Sure.
So
What do you think it takes for something like that to keep going, to like, for longevity, continued support that's not just based on, oh, there's some guilt behind this support or this purchase or whatever. Um, what will it take for, I guess, for people to actually understand the importance of buying from Black-owned businesses, whether they're, Black or white or whatever color they are?
Understanding that supporting Black-owned business is not a gimmick. It's not a trend, it's not a fad, it's nothing like that. Like these events have sparked, a lot of people to be aware of the fact that there needs to be more support of Black business, whether it's Black supporting Black or other races supporting Black. I think that it's kind of like comes down to the conversation of Black Lives Matter. Right now there just needs to be an extra emphasis on Black-owned business. It needs to not be a trend. It needs to be a part of your lifestyle. You need to start learning about, if you don't already know, you need to try and learn about other Black-owned business, and just in any kind of way you can support, whether it's buying, whether it's telling your friends, whether it's reposting, anything, make it a part of what you do.
Sure.
And you'll find that it won't just be about being a Black-owned business. You'll just be like, wow, I'm supporting this amazing business.
Right. Yeah. That's what it should be. So what challenges do you see as a Black farmer specifically? What challenges do you see are like unique to your business?
Well, I would say in the past, at least, I had a lot of issues at the farmers markets.
Okay.
And I'm in a unique place where it's more tourist based, and I've noticed there's a big difference between the tourist base and the local base. So I started in 2012, and for the first couple of years, I felt like there was a lot of there'd always be a lot of doubt or a lot of like second guessing, or just people not really wanting to embrace the fact that there's a young Black man in front of you. This is his business. This is his product. This is his idea. This is what he's doing.
Right.
This is just me. I've always been self-funded, but friends of mine in Seattle, at least specifically, have had issues when it came to getting loans, when it came to just getting support behind their ideas.
Sure.
And that's specifically with Black farmers.
Yeah.
But I can say now that there are some nonprofit groups that have kind of like got together and kind of like a little coalition going of Black farmers, the Black Farmer Alliance in Washington State.
Okay.
Actually, I think it goes into Oregon too, but that's changing. But there's definitely been, yeah, there's definitely been some roadblocks or just some little hurdles.
Sure. Nothing that you can't overcome.
No.
Speaking of the organizations or the resources that are out there, because you just mentioned the Black Farmer Alliance, are there any organizations out there that you could put out for, other farmers who might be interested in getting some help or support? I know like there's the Black Farmer Fund. I know there's a Black Land and Power Fund. Shout out to Dara Cooper. Are there any other organizations that you're aware of that might a farmer might want to tap into and utilize?
Well, I'm kind of out of the loop in a lot of ways because I'm just kind of tunnel visioned,
Right.
but I do stay connected with some bigger groups that have larger reaches. So in Seattle, in the Northwest area specifically, is more where I'm honed into. Yes Farm. I think their Instagram is Yes Farm Official, but I'd have to double check that. But they're an organization with lots of resources, and they can help you whether it's getting started in a farm or just learning about farming. And then another really, really good resource if you're in the Seattle area is Nurturing Roots Farm. And that's in the Beacon Hill. So like right in the center of the city, in the Beacon Hill area. And that's a place where you can go, you can bring your kids, you can bring your grandparents, you learn about farming, you learn about value-added product production. So like taking herbs, turning them into vinegar, like infused vinegars, things like that. And then even like being able to be incubated into starting your own farm. I know that they have a program out. It is Living Well Kent. And that's a program that I'm not a part of this year, but I was the previous 2 years. And what we were doing down there actually is hosting immigrant farmers. So from anywhere in the world, but mainly from a lot of different African countries. And we had a big piece of land, and out there, that's where we were like helping them grow crops that are native to our region, as well as trying to source seeds from their regions and things they're used to growing. And then doing that and then teaching them how to take that and go to a farmer's market. So how to grow and then actually make the money off of it, not just be able to keep the food for yourself. So
Like an incubator for.
there's a few good resources out here, but when it comes to like national resources, I wouldn't have a lot. But I would hit up one of those three people: Yes Farm, Nurturing Roots Farm, or Living Well Kent. They all have resources, and they're going to be tapped in.
Nice. So what do you think is working for you best in business right now? Something that you're like, okay, this action that I'm taking or this skill that I'm utilizing is working for me right now. Let me lean into this. What's working for you right now? And do you want to do more of?
Man, these peppers, man.
What, sorry?
These peppers.
Okay.
Chilies. Man, I'm even on a little space, I could, you can grow so many that you could stack them up and create different kind of products, from hot sauces to dry rubs, infused salts, the infused honeys, et cetera, et cetera. And, I'm stacking them up, and so it's something that I'm starting to lean into. I have a deep passion for it. I've done a little bit of breeding, and I have a real passion for that, but it's something that I'm realizing is going to take a lot more space and focus and time to dedicate to it. But I started off mainly focused on growing the culinary herbs because, like I said, when I was getting started into the farmers market business, my focus was to get in the Pike Place market because that's like the big farmers market, and it's that's kind of like where my legacy with my family and everything would be at. So in order to get in over there, there was already a pepper farmer. So I kind of came second in line. And so I had to use what I could, and I was growing herbs already. So I was like, okay, let's put the emphasis on the herbs right now. But peppers definitely have my passion, I would say.
Okay. So what do you think would take your business to the next level right now?
Like 2 or 3 interns. That's what it is. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of things,
Yeah.
but I just need more help. And
What
with the
area
pandemic,
specifically?
digitally would be awesome. You know, I would love to grow the reach. I would love to get out to more people. I'd love to create way more content. I would love to have someone that could sit down and, you know, help just organize and create kind of like a template of what it is that Urban Farm and Farmer Ross content will be, whether it's the teaching in the garden or teaching how to make some products or just sitting back talking
Yeah.
that stuff and farm talk, you know. And then of course like intern physical, you know, like when it comes to product production, because uh majority of the products I produce at my state licensed facility that I own, which is my house. So what I did is I converted the bottom half of my house into Washington State Department of Agricultural Processing Facility.
Mm.
So that just means I'm licensed to take the things I grow, dry them, process them into ingredients.
Yeah.
So like I have on all the correct procedures, et cetera, that are safe,
Sure.
and then being able to also import other ingredients and create spice mixes or create vinegars or olive oils or just different varieties of products.
Nice. Okay. And lastly, in wrapping up, what is your advice for other farmers right now or aspiring farmers?
Man, just to start, get on YouTube, type in whatever it is that piques your interest and go from there.
Yeah.
And then get on Instagram or Facebook and do the same thing and just start finding people that think like you, that are doing things that are like what you're interested in,
Mm-hmm.
and just go from there. If you have any space, start with that. My girlfriend at the time when I started this business, I remember she tore up her mom's yard or grandma's yard, just, you know, just because she was like, she had the bug and bitter.
Yeah.
And you know, so you can use anything, or just if you don't have a lot of space, if you just have like a patio or a window or a deck, getting started with potted plants. If you just have a small space indoors, maybe looking into indoor growing. You know, there's like that thing when it comes to urban farming and growing, there's like unlimited ways to go about it. But I would say you just have to utilize the resources that we have between YouTube and Google and
Mm.
get started. And
Yeah.
you'll end up finding out that there's some local people probably doing what you want to do, or some form of it. And you could at very least say, hey, can I come intern this summer? Can I come volunteer this spring?
Yeah.
And if none of that sounds good to you, just go to a farmer's market. I know during COVID, it's not, everything is all up in the air, but if you go to a farmer's market, you could take a look around and you can see what piques your interest when it comes to farmers. And you can say,
Yeah.
hey, tell me more about your farm. Tell me more about what you do. Could I ever come visit your farm?
Yeah.
So that's a whole lot of ways to do it, either digitally or in person. So
No, that makes a lot of sense. That's very helpful. I mean, it's almost like it's not a lack of information, it's almost too much information, and trying to narrow down, trying to focus on what makes sense for you. And so you're not just like studying information for the next 20 years.
I think, and that makes a lot of sense. I think in that case too, you just got to allow yourself to be captured. You know, that's why I say start with something simple, that just whatever it is that has piqued your interest initially about farming, urban farming,
Yep.
start with that. Even if it's as broad as urban farming and you're in like Atlanta, urban farming Atlanta, Google that, YouTube that,
Yeah.
Instagram, and then you might get sucked into a more tunnel, narrow focus. And
Makes sense.
yeah, I mean, there is a lot of information out there, but you just got to allow yourself to let it come to you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, man. Yo, thank you so much for your time. Definitely appreciate it. And hopefully
Yeah,
we'll
thank you,
be talking
John.
again soon.
Absolutely.
All right, bro. Take it easy, man.
All right.